Wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining us. My name is Allie Thomas, and this is Inmates to Entrepreneurs 8-week entrepreneurship course. I'm the person who's been emailing you pretty relentlessly the last week, so I do apologize for that. Just wanted to make sure everyone has all of the information they need. So normally we do start the class right at 6. I know we're a couple minutes late this evening. I apologize. I like to give everyone the chance on our first night together to kind of find their way here, make sure we all have the same Zoom link, the same telephone number, everything that we could possibly need. So I do like to warn people that we are recording this class. So we're all on the same page in the very beginning. And I will send you basically this recording each week. So tonight's Tuesday. So every Wednesday night, I will send you all this recording. We have PowerPoint slides we go over. If we have any links or additional information, I will include that in the recap email. So know this is being recorded. You will get a copy of it. If you miss something, you will have it. But before we jump into the course, we do have, I apologize, quite a few housekeeping notes, and I do that just tonight only, so we're all on the same page moving forward. And then as class goes on, we will just kick off class at the very beginning moving forward. So I'm going to try and keep this really short and sweet, and I apologize because this is the most boring part of the next 8 weeks. But the first thing I would ask all of you to do, if your username is not your actual name, could you please either change it? If you're unsure how to do that, you can throw your name into the chat. You can email me. You can raise your hand in a little bit and we'll figure it out. But we do track attendance based off of the username that is showing up right now. So if for some reason yours is just saying iPhone right now, I don't know who you are. And I want to make sure that I'm able to get you the recording and any additional information. So I do need to know who you are. We also ask that everyone attend at least 6 of the 8 classes in order to be eligible to receive your certificate of completion for the course. Now that sounds like a lot, and I understand that, but we want you to graduate just as much as you want to graduate. So we know life happens. Jobs change, kids' schedules change, people get sick, whatever. So if you have to miss a class, just let me know. Say, hey, Allie, I'm not going to be able to make it next week. Can you make sure that my attendance is excused? And I will absolutely do that. I'll make sure you get all the information you need. As long as we are in communication and you don't just like completely ghost us, then we'll be fine. So please keep that in mind moving forward. This isn't so much for the group here, but for people who may watch this recording later. Class begins promptly at 6 p.m. Eastern, so that's 5 Central, 4 Mountain Standard, or 3 Pacific Standard Time. So just keep that in mind. If you can have your camera on, we would love to see you. It is much easier talking and getting to know people when we can see faces and we can put names and faces together. Talking to a black screen, while manageable, is not as exciting as you can imagine. So if you can turn your screen on, we'd love to see you. If you do have your screen on, though, please be mindful that we can see everything around you. So if you're somewhere where, there's private information or there are other people in the background, just be aware of your surroundings. Also, you may have noticed everyone is automatically muted. If you have any questions, generally, we will have time for question and answers during every single class. So our instructors do a really great job of stopping after lots of information and making sure that all of your questions are addressed. If for whatever reason we do have 1 or 2 nights where it's very, very content heavy and we can't stop as frequently, definitely utilize the chat. Throw your question into the chat. We have 3 instructors who I'm going to introduce in just a second. They do a fabulous job of monitoring that chat. So if you have a question while one instructor is teaching, another instructor can answer your question in the chat in real time. Like I said, we also have designated question and answer time. So you can absolutely kind of raise your hand and talk on screen then. Just know that the chat is available. Class is every Tuesday night for the next 8 weeks. Pretty easy, pretty standard there. This, I just kind of have to say, it's our general boilerplate language, but we do not offer any sort of financial support. That includes, but is not limited to, donations, startup capital loans, or seed funding. We teach the practice of starting and growing low capital businesses. There's no financial compensation for graduating from or participating in this course. Each class is going to build on previous weeks. So tonight is more, like I said, I've got a few housekeeping notes. We're going to meet our instructors. We're going to talk about generally how the class is going to run. But then each class is going to get progressively more instructional, if that makes sense. So we do that for a couple of reasons, but the main reason is we want to make sure that we're all starting on the same playing field. If you remember when you registered, our only kind of requirement was that you have been judicially involved in some capacity. A lot of people in this class have never been incarcerated. A lot of people in this class are currently incarcerated. And so we want to make sure that we're all coming into this with the same kind of baseline knowledge so we can build together instead of having very fragmented starting points for the class, if that makes sense. Like I said, class is recorded. You will get this, you will get the PowerPoints that we use, so don't worry about that. All of our instructors are experienced entrepreneurs. They have all started their own business and or multiple businesses. And they will be able to help answer your business specific questions throughout the course. Now, in the email that you got that had the Zoom link for tonight, there is an attachment. It is a PDF course activity book. I would highly suggest printing it. However, it is 36 pages, and that is a lot. So if you do not want to print 36 pages, I completely get it. Just know that that is there for you in case you need it. You can use it to it tracks basically each week of class. So it's just an organized way to take notes. And then we do have weekly homework. The homework is done on the honor system. Please do not turn it in. I cannot guarantee that I will have time to even look at it. It is mostly so you can practice and build on ideas and different practices that we've talked about throughout the week. If you're going through your homework though, and you have specific questions, definitely bring those to class the following week, and we will make sure that those get addressed for you. I'm looking, I think that's most of the housekeeping notes. I did try and keep it under 10 minutes. Now is kind of more of the fun part. I'm going to introduce you to our instructors for this evening. These are three very seasoned, very funny, very intelligent instructors who have all taught multiple classes, multiple cohorts with inmates, entrepreneurs at this point. You're going to be led by Alex Stewart, Josh Nowak, and Marco Bergarello. Instructors, I'm going to try and find you in this list and make you co-host now. Once you have co-host abilities, please jump on, introduce yourselves, and then when you're ready for the PowerPoint, just let me know. And sorry, I keep trying to make you guys co-host, but my participant list keeps moving.
Why, hello, everyone. Are you hearing me, Allie?
Yes.
Kick us off, Josh.
Oh, welcome everyone to Inmates to Entrepreneurs Summer Edition 2023. My name is Josh Nowak. I am, in addition to an instructor here at Inmates to Entrepreneurs, I'm also a board member. And when I'm not being a board member, I also run Breaking Free Apparel, which is a screen printing shop based here in Southern California, where we only employ second chance folks, and we offer amazing swag, apparel, hoodies, and t-shirts and stuff like that. Alex, Marco.
Hi, I'm Alex Stewart, and I formerly ran a company called Modern Species that's still going today, mainly focusing on organic and natural foods products. We did design and branding for those. So a lot of package design. I did a lot of the copywriting for those packages and stuff. So therefore, I'm always very picky about your elevator pitches, which we will have all of you guys working on for your businesses, elevator pitches. Currently, I am in graduate school. I'm working on a PhD in something called industrial organizational psychology, which is the psychology of work. We work on everything from recruiting and selecting people to managing, training, and leadership development. So every now and then I like to stick in some nerdy science stuff, because the thing that made me want to go back to school was finding out that there's a bunch of data and solid answers behind a lot of this advice that we're often given. So, yeah, I'll pop in with that stuff as we go along. Marco?
Awesome. Well, hey, welcome everybody to week one. Super excited to be here. Glad to get to meet you all and go through this course together. It'll be fun. Yeah, my name is Marco. I'm based in Phoenix. I've started 2 companies before. One of them failed pretty bad pretty quickly, and then another one was like a moderately okay software company in the mortgage space. So on the side, I've helped like a lot of other folks, just like from an advising role, like help with landscaping businesses or help my brother jumpstart his rental business as well. So just kind of always have had a heart for simple businesses and just kind of love being here. I think I've been an instructor for like 3 years or so now. So yeah, great to be back. Great to be with you all. I know week one is going to be a little bit of a different week. It's for some of you guys who have already started your own business, this might seem like a little bit of a softer launch, but just so you all know, we'll kind of build as we get going here over the next few weeks. So yeah, Josh, maybe you want to give us some quick more background here for week one, and then we can kind of jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. So the premise of Inmates to Entrepreneurs and the course that we're going to, for the next 7 weeks of content, the 8th week will be graduation. We teach how to start a business, the basics of what do you need to get started to get your first sale in the door. We assume you don't have a bunch of money. We assume that you are trying to build a business with under $1,000. To the extent that you have more capital, great, awesome, love it, helpful, it gets you farther along the way. But we are teaching this course as if you are indeed a returning citizen, meaning that you don't have access to a bunch of capital and that people aren't inclined to float you a bunch of money and the banks are going to say no to you. We are teaching it from that perspective because that's kind of the reality for most folks that are coming home, that capital is going to be a little tight. So our general bias is how do you make this business simpler, easier to start, something where you can just start and grow this organically and own it yourself and not be contingent on other people giving you money, grants and things like that. Are there grants available? Possibly, but we are teaching this class to be a bootstrap deal so that you can start today. You can go to Staples with $50 in your pocket, get some business cards and some flyers, put some posters up in an apartment building, and you can have a residential cleaning business by the end of the day. You can go to Craigslist and put an ad on Craigslist for a couple of bucks, and you can be in the painting business today. And we're going to get you into that perspective of how do we kind of get you started with the basics. As Ali said, we're not here to be a funding source. We're not lawyers. We're just people who are deeply passionate about second chances and equally passionate about entrepreneurship and all that sort of stuff. Some of your instructors will have a judicial past. Some of them will not. I happen to be in that club of being judicially involved. So everything I will share with you has come from a perspective of I have had to go through every part of this. I started my apparel business with $400. So it's not like you're going to see everyone who's always been successful or they were given it. Some of the instructors will have had that experience, some of them will not. But again, all of us have a dedicated mission towards second chances, as well as a dedicated passion around entrepreneurship. Tonight is just going to be just an overview. We're going to talk a little bit about why we're in business, why are we doing this to begin with, and then we'll go through things like basic accounting. How do you get your first sale? How do you kind of LLC, corporation, what do we do with that? How do you handle customer service? We'll even talk about as you start growing, well, when do you bring aboard people and stuff like that. Week 7 will be just a recapitulation, and then 8th week we'll just celebrate ourselves for actually kind of sticking through this. Most instructors do make themselves available. So if you have a question that, hey, we went over something in class, but help me understand that. I personally am always happy to have a chat with anybody, because if there's something in my pea brain that's useful to somebody else, I am only too happy to give it up and all that. So with that said, Ali, could you start off kicking off our slides here and then we'll get started. And then also, please be sure, use that chat box and chat window. It's a great way to kind of chime in your thoughts, and not just chime in your thoughts, but ask your questions so that they don't get lost in the shuffle. And yeah, as Ali said, we keep a keen eye on that to make sure that we don't lose anything that comes with. For those of you who are concerned about your comments, as for the recordings do not capture your comments. But we will read them off so that for those watching it on a delay, they'll be able to get it. Anyway, inmates entrepreneurs getting your business off the ground. Woohoo! Next slide. We've already done our introductions, what to expect. Yeah, we will typically run these courses with 3 instructors. We usually kind of toggle off between one and the other. And at the end of every slide, the 2 other instructors who just didn't present it will usually kind of add on their perspective. And it also gives us a chance to kind of monitor that chat box. Lastly, everyone's got their own experiences. My background prior to incarceration, I was a CPA. Marco has been a serial entrepreneur. Alex has also been an entrepreneur. I'm not sure who else is queued up for this program over the next 8 weeks, but we all have different perspectives and have different kind of exposure as far as some of these topics. We're going to talk about getting your business off the ground, why we're going to start the business, and why is it so damn hard? Next slide, please. And what you can expect here. Learn from your classmates. You know, in the chat window, if you've already got an Instagram, whatever it is, start throwing it out there. If you've got a business, throw your Instagram handle out there. Let's support one another. As I just shared before, we're going to start. The perspective here is that we're starting a business, usually a service-based business, for under $1,000. We're going to talk about how do you market your business and get started. Alex is amazing at working those pitches and talking about that. How do you get that first sale in the door? And that means getting somebody to have them give you their money. And that's the goal, that if you have a business, have them give you their money. How to give excellent customer service and also be mindful of costs, because obviously if you are spending more than you're making, that's a problem. Next slide, please. Alex, would you mind just kicking us off on this, because you are so astute about elevator pitches?
I do love the elevator pitches, mainly because they're freaking hard. So if it feels daunting and scary to you, it's because it is. So elevator pitch, if you've never heard the term, I think most people have, it's like 20 to 30 seconds, basically the length of an elevator ride, to explain your business. Sometimes you're pitching it, as in like you're trying to get a sale, and sometimes you're just saying what you do. It seems probably like a silly little exercise, but you will use this all the time, because all the time people will say, what do you do? And you'll be like, I have my own business. And then they'll say, oh, what's your business? There's your pitch. So having that kind of like in your back pocket is really good, because you don't know when you're going to be standing in front of a potential customer. Very often, just like you don't wear your business on your face, they don't wear their demographics that would align with your business. So I'll give you a for instance. When I am describing my company, if somebody says, what do you do? I'll say, oh, I have a food company. And that is too generic, too general. If I want to get more specific, it would be like, oh, I have a snack company. I make gluten-free snacks that are kid-friendly. If you are a person who is a parent who has a kid with celiac disease, like, boom, all of a sudden you want to know more. I've given you just enough to get you interested. I've given you just enough that you want to get more information out of me, and that you've already self-selected yourself as a client. I consider that to be pull marketing, like I'm pulling them in and giving them what they want. Some people do something more like push marketing, where they're kind of like doing more of like the pitch, like, they've got some sort of fun, like zinger one-liner where they're like, if you want a delicious snack that's going to make you feel great, you're going to love what I have. Like, that's fine. If that's authentic to you, go for it. If it's not authentic to you, you can just basically say what you do and allow people to self-select. So I won't kind of go on much longer because I want to know if any of you guys have elevator pitches worked out, or if you want to try one.
The other big thing I'll add too, Alex, that was super great. Like for a lot of you folks, like some people we see in the chat, like might have already started their business or they know what they're going to do. I'd encourage like the other half of the group here who maybe doesn't know what business they're going to start, or you're here joining this class because you're like, oh, I want to start something, but I don't know what to start. Just pick a random business, pick a random idea. I think when we talk about sharing elevator pitches, just like pick something that you think you might want to do, and then just practice your pitch based off of that. That'll be helpful. So that way you can still participate and engage, even if you don't necessarily have a business ready to go today.
So like it says on the slide there, you are creating interest in your project, your product, your idea. So yeah, who wants to go?
Another way to kind of break this down is, to me, a great elevator pitch, and we can get how much of a hook it is tell me who you are. What's the name of your business? What does your company do? If you can be a little creative and tell me something clever about that business. And where do you service? Because if let's just say I do mobile car wash detail, it's going to be really important for me to know that I'm in Seattle or I'm in Los Angeles, because me talking to somebody who is out of state, not going to work. And how do we get in touch with you? And usually we're going to mean for being in socials. So an example of that would be, hey, my name is Josh Nowak. I am the founder of Breaking Free Industries. We are a shirt printing business based in Santa Ana, California. And right now we are getting ready for back to school swag for youth sports. And you can find us at Breaking Free BFI on socials. That would be an elevator pitch. Is that overly catchy? Is that overly going to make me want to do business with you? Maybe not, but it communicates the basic idea as far as what I'm doing. It should be about 20 seconds, something pretty brief. Because if I go much longer than 20 seconds, I got news for you. The person who's listening to you is already tuned out there somewhere else. So
We got a volunteer. I think Spencer said you want to go.
for Spencer in the list. Go for it, Spencer.
Okay. Hi, my name is Spencer. I would like to, I don't have this company or business right now, but I'm just going to do an example. Is that all right?
Sure.
Okay. So I want to start I'm Spencer Marie Allen. I want to start a commercial cleaning business, residential and commercial cleaning business. And we could clean for anywhere from construction cleanup to residential cleanup to, I guess, I don't know what else. What else would you like to know? What does it say? Statements. Elevator pitch last
Well,
residential. I'm sorry.
So let's go back to my checklist. It's okay. What's your name?
Spencer Marie Allen.
Okay. And what's the name of your business? And let's talk as if it actually exists, because that's the best way to start.
Mile High Cleaning.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Spencer and I'm the co-founder, CEO, president of Mile High Cleaning. And we do what type of cleaning?
Anywhere from commercial cleanup to residential business,
So
small business residential cleaning.
Okay, so we do small commercial and residential cleaning. We specialize in construction cleanup. Cool. And you service the general Denver area, probably, yeah?
Yes, and I also wanted to get certified with hazmat cleanup and the other like what is it, like paint cleanup? That's hazmat, right?
Well, let's come back to that in just a second. So you service the greater Denver area, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
You can find me on socials at
Mile High Cleaning. Yes.
And there you go. When you do get that certification, that becomes a line in a part of that pitch. So in addition to doing residential and commercial cleaning, we are specially certified to handle those hazardous materials for specifically around paint cleanup. And you can market specifically to painters who really need that kind of service. So you want to, as you're going through the pitch, it's important that you're using now language. I am the CEO. Whether or not you have the business or not is relevant, because part of the joy and the frustration of the elevator pitch is that you're trying it on for size. And as you're trying it on for size, like, could I really see myself as in a cleaning company business? Yeah, I can. Or no, not so much. And as you're starting to think about what really resonates for you, then you can like, oh, wow, that feels really good. And I'm really motivated by it. I want to make this happen. And as you start thinking it, you start feeling it. Now, it's long known that superstars like Michael Jordan or Lionel Messi, they see that goal being scored before they even wind up. They know exactly what it's going to feel like in their body before they even play the game. So same thing for us as we start thinking about our business and the business of our dreams. We really want to think through, what does it feel like in our bodies as we start gearing up to make that end run, to make that first pitch and make that sale? And how does that feel? And oh wow, I see myself I envision having a large thriving business around the greater Denver area, of having this commercial cleaning business. And then when you get that certification, that you kind of throw it in. As you kind of grow that business, you can start throwing in things such as, hey, Mother's Day is coming up. Make sure that house is extra specially cleaned for mom. As the holidays come around, hey, wow, holidays are coming up. Thanksgiving's coming up. Not only can you have a clean house beforehand, we will gladly come after your party has left to restore sanity to your residents. Like, there's all kinds of things you can do with cleaning businesses to be creative and clever, to take something that is kind of table stakes and really add a level of just fun to it.
One of the things that I recommend is that you think about who you want your customer to be, more so than thinking about who the person is standing in front of you. If you know who they are and what their needs are, fantastic, cater your message to their needs. But very often you're standing in front of somebody that you don't know very well. You're at a party, you're at a social networking, whatever. And so therefore, speaking to the ideal client is better. So if you are just starting out and yeah, you would like to get that hazmat certification and you'd like to do more construction cleanup stuff, but you're really best set up for residential cleaning right now. And once you make enough to purchase all of the products that you need, you'll get into the construction stuff. Tailor the message for those people who need residential services. Then once you start getting prepared for the construction cleaning, or you think there's a good chance that you're talking to somebody who needs construction cleanup, pitch that. So you can basically always say, my company is called Mile High Cleaning. We do residential and commercial cleaning. After that, you then figure out what your highlight is, so that we specialize in construction cleanup. Basically, automatically like reinforces, they already know that you do residential and commercial, but you're basically reinforcing what you really, really want. So for my business, it was a branding and design company. We could do branding and design for anybody. I mean, branding and design is branding and design. But I always said branding and design for organic products, because that was what we really wanted. That was what we wanted to target. And we knew that that was something that we were going to be able to do very well and make the most money at. So in terms of like saying, name your broad services, and then basically the next thing that comes afterwards, I think, should be, why should you hire me? And when you are thinking of this, think selfishly from the buyer's point of view. So my snack company, it's for gluten-free snacks that are kid-friendly. Like, I am speaking to moms who have gluten-free kids that need snacks that they like. You know, like, that is who I am going for. So I'm not thinking like, and I want you to buy it because it's really great. You know, like that might be something that I would say. Think from that mom's perspective. Think from that person who just got a home renovation and needs their construction cleanup so that they can move all their stuff in. And think about what they want to hear. They want to hear that you're going to clean it until it is move-in ready. And so maybe you say that or something like that. Marco.
Sweet. Yeah, Josh, Alex, that's really great feedback. And Spencer, thanks for sharing. We have a couple other volunteers been trying to manage the chat a little bit. So Brandy Bishop, and then Steve, if you wanted to go, Neona, if you wanted to go. So Brandy Bishop, if you wanted to share your pitch, feel free to come off mute.
Hi, I'm Brandy. So I am an owner I'm the owner of Busted Detailing. We specialize in cleaning of semis, cars, RVs, getting them ready for the winter and storage. I think that's about it.
And how can we find you?
I'm on Google, I'm on Facebook, I have an LLC. We are located in Fargo, North Dakota. Can work pretty much anywhere.
Well, I mean, it is important to say, like, when you have a business such as that, I'm in Fargo, North Dakota, off of some exit or something like that, just from a standpoint of, you know where you are, you know where your operations are, the person listening to you doesn't.
Okay.
So if you were to tell me, shit, I've never been to North Dakota, I barely know where it is on a map. Okay, I'm not that.
It's a little
But-
south of the Canadian border, a whole lot more north of the Mexican.
Well, I mean, consider I'm 80 miles north of the Mexican border. I feel you. But you might want to say something to the effect of, we're in Fargo, North Dakota, and off of I-80 or some marker that says, if I'm driving from town, I know to stop by and get cleaned up.
Okay.
Other than that, yeah. And you can be a little clever as far as get that road dirt off of your, I mean, I don't know how much you're looking to try and get for people that are in the Fargo area versus people that are driving through. But there's no shortage of businesses that make their whole thing about trying to put out like wonky signs along the way. If you've ever looked up south of the border, which is on I-95 in South Carolina, I think.
Yes.
Allie, you probably know. Yeah, they've got miles for like, I don't know, 150 miles coming at it. That's like
Yeah.
the lamest tourist trap you would ever see in your life. But man, they sell it like nobody's business.
They have one from here to like Arizona advertising like that too, for like this mummies and stuff like that. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so it's just building the anticipation about what you're trying to do, and it's all about knowing where you are so that we can find you.
Okay.
So you having an RV thing in North Dakota. I'm 80 miles north of the north of Tijuana.
Oh, yeah. I'm like 80 miles from Canada.
There you go.
Very awesome. Brandy, one thing I noticed, you're a fast talker. As a fellow fast talker, good on you. And also the downside of that is like hard to catch the name of your business. So
Yeah.
pretty much the options are slow down and enunciate or repetition. So
Okay.
repeating the name of your business like at the end of what you're saying is generally always good practice if you can just like make it not awkward, simply because a lot of times in the beginning people will be like, oh sweet, what's your business, when they don't actually care. But then when you describe what you do, they're like, oh wait, I need detailing. And then they're like, wait, what's the name of the business again? So if you say it again, that's really good.
Okay.
So yeah, what was the name of your business again?
Busted Bee Detailing.
CBD detailing.
Busted Bee. So BUSTED and then a capital B.
Cool. Detailing. All right. Yeah. And other than that, yeah, I would say like I did hear you say like get it ready for the winter. That sounds great. Like, I mean, that's the sort of thing that like maybe somebody who's a new RV owner isn't thinking of or something. So it's good.
Yeah, Brandon, that was awesome. I was going to say the same thing as Alex. Yeah, slow down a little bit. The biggest thing I think we see like throughout like most pitches is like, even from a confidence standpoint, just fake it, right? Fake it till you make it. Like a lot of times I talk fast like Alex does too. And the best way to do that is like just to slow down, is to at least like fake the confidence of like, hey, act like you've been doing your business for like 5 or 10 years. Act like you have that level of confidence, and like that will come out in your pitch. I think it'll make a huge difference because that'll convict people a lot better. But I thought that was a great pitch. I'm not sure how many times you've done that before, but like that sounded really strong. That's a really good, really good start. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Awesome. We have a few more folks who have raised their hands. Steve, did you want to go on? I think you said in one of the chats here that you wanted to share. Is Steve still here?
Yes, thank you, Marco.
Great.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So my name is Steve. I'm the founder of Raise Home Networking. We focus on primarily the installation of network cabling and setup for smart homes that are being built in the area. However, we can also retrofit previously built homes for network cabling, so that way they can convert into smart homes. This includes interfacing with Siri, Google, and Amazon. So that way, everything that you can do in your home can be completely networked in case you ever have, more devices that can come in. We can accommodate for those. We can set up, servers for sharing of files through families. A lot of people are doing gaming, so we can also, set up for those as well.
So Steve, the what I hear you doing is what is extremely common when you have a great knowledge of your business, is you're like, there's so many things I can do. And so basically you kind of started listing off all the things that you can do. So keeping it somewhat more broad so that you can keep it short is ideal. When you basically said, we set up home networking for smart homes, and we can do it with new homes or convert old homes, I was like, oh, like leaving it at that, where you're like, we set up smart homes and we can convert old homes into smart homes. If you say that, like, I already know that like networking is something that's complex. It involves cables, and any sort of old house isn't set up for that. And you just come in and do magic. Like, you don't have to say server, you don't have to say cable. Like, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, you come in with like elves or gremlins or whatever, and they crawl on my walls and fix things. Like, that's magical. And so if people want to ask for more information, give it to them. But yeah, I recommend basically kind of leaving it at that whole, like, we come in and convert your old home into something new. And if you want to say, or into smart homes, and if you want to say something like, we can work with construction companies on new homes as well, like that kind of covers both bases. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Josh, Marco?
No, I think we're good. So, and let's kind of turn on to the next page, and then Marco, if you can let us on.
Perfect. Awesome. And for the folks who did raise their hands to give their pitch, we'll get to you next week. So I think it was Neona, Grace, and Ken who had their hands up to raise. Well, next week, every week we'll continue to do elevator pitches. So don't worry, you all, we'll get your turn to get some feedback. So keep practicing. That'll be part of the homework, but we'll get to you guys next week. So thanks everybody for sharing. This slide, kind of a simple slide, we're just going to kick things off with just to set the ground floor. There's really kind of two types of businesses, if you will. What we focus on with this course with inmates to entrepreneurs is Main Street businesses. So these are the very simple, like usually often service businesses that really like make the economy go around. It could be anything from a catering company to a landscaping company, painting company. You could have a lemonade stand, right? 8-year-olds have lemonade stands, but that's a good way to like sell something and make money. So usually these are products or services. The fact of the matter is, like, most businesses in the US are actually Main Street businesses. Speaking from my own personal experience, who comes from a tech background, those ventures are just a lot more risky. I'm not even like being in that world. Like, I would always advise folks, hey, Main Street business is the best place to start because you make your money a lot faster. You become profitable a lot faster. And it's less risky. There's a lot of ways that you can do things to go start making money today versus some of the high tech stuff maybe takes a little bit more expertise or takes a lot longer. And there's just inherently more risk with that. So some of the high tech stuff might be stuff on the software space or artificial intelligence space or IT space as well. So with this course, we advise folks, hey, stick to the Main Street businesses as much as possible, unless you have some other different experience somewhere else. One thing we also recommend in this class too, we know a lot of folks who are on this Zoom like have a heart for folks who are formerly incarcerated and have a heart for second chances. While nonprofits and like mission-oriented companies like can be really great, we also try to advise folks like, hey, how can you go make money today, right? Nonprofits is maybe a different discussion. I think we get into a little bit later in the course. But typically we want to try to encourage you all, hey, how do you go start a business today with less than $1,000, like Josh said, and just start making money for yourself to be able to grow a business. So those are some quick examples. Josh, Alex, any thoughts on types of businesses here?
I would just say that basically like the kind of difference between the top and the bottom is just basically amount of time that it takes and the amount of risk involved. Those Main Street businesses are usually lower risk and quicker turnaround in terms of getting money in the door. So.
The other good analogy I think I've always used with folks too is like the dirtier your business, like the more money there often is to be made too. Like a lot of times, like the sexy tech businesses, like they're a lot harder. It's a lot more just there's so many more people that are trying to win in that space. But like people like I think cleaning and like residential cleaning stuff is like one of the best businesses you can run because it's a dirtier business technically. But at the end of the day, or plumbing, for example, or toilet cleaning, like that's one of the best ways to make money just because it's like not many people are willing to do it. And you won't always have to do it at the end of the day. So that's like a good kind of framework to have. Like the dirtier the business, sometimes like the more money there is to be made and a lot faster too.
So true. So well said.
So I'm gonna go to the next slide. Josh, over to you.
I am. Is this you, Alex?
No, this one's you, Josh.
Okay, cool. I tried to defer it. I try and shirk responsibility at every opportunity. Traits of an entrepreneur. You can find this on activity book page 4. Typically, when we think of entrepreneur, we've got kind of people that kind of come into our head, right? And when we go into the chat window, who are some of the entrepreneurs that you know and admire? Just go into the chat window. Alex says Bill Gates. A little bit of selfish there, Brian Hamilton. Sure, why not? He's all right. Let's go date myself a little bit here. And when we start thinking about them, who are they? Oftentimes we think of these entrepreneurs as being these visionary leaders that are overly outgoing and they take all the air out of a room and all that sort of stuff. That might be true. But what we know about them empirically is that they tend to be passionate about the business. You know what? It might not be sexy, but waste management, I am really passionate about making sure that we get your stuff cleaned up. As being an entrepreneur, you have to know a little bit about a lot. It means that you have to know how to stay, to take care of the legal things, take care of the marketing, know the product itself. You got to be a little proactive. If you're always kind of on your heels, you're not going to succeed. You have to have that strong desire to succeed, just because if not, no one's going to do it for you, darn it. Like, this isn't a job. You go show up at the job, they give you whatever it is that you're supposed to happen. If you are not motivated, you can't, no one else can be motivated for your success more than you. You got to own it. You got to be determined and just persistent. I believe it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,100 unsuccessful attempts that Thomas Edison had when he created the incandescent light bulb. I share that in part because effective today, they are no longer legal for purchase in the US, but it took Edison over 1,100 times to develop what is now known as the incandescent light bulb. That's 1,100 failures or 1,100 ways not to create an incandescent light. You got to have that determination and persistence. And there are a couple of books here that talk about entrepreneurship and who they are and stuff like that. Be adaptive, because sometimes the market moves. If you think about not so much Bill Gates, but Steve Jobs, he started, got fired from his own company, started another business, didn't do so well at that, then came back, took the company from being this computer company to going into the device world. Yeah, they're still known for their MacBooks, but I don't know. A lot of people walk around with this phone thingy that's also an MP3 player. So being adaptive and reading the tea leaves of the market and being a good leader. And leadership doesn't mean necessarily being that outgoing like used car salesman. Being a good leader means getting people to be able to follow you, meaning both your customers and your team members of, hey, this is the direction we're going and here's why, let's go. And we can have a whole conversation just around leadership. Questions from the peanut gallery, Alex, Marco?
I think that's great. Yeah, we have a lot more traits. I think so. We can go to the next slide and kind of keep rolling on the same theme. Yeah, just continue on the theme that Josh is talking about here, just what makes folks successful. And one thing I'll caveat too, like there's obviously like a 20 bullet points that we're trying to talk through on this slide, right? Like you don't have to be perfect at all of these. Like a lot of these things are things I believe can be taught or things that can be learned along the way. There's a lot of things that like Josh is really great at or Alex is really great at. And like we all might balance each other out, right? And so you can learn from like folks in this course or from other mentors and stuff if you don't maybe have some of these different skills, right? So some of the other traits that might be super helpful as you're building a business. Just being comfortable with challenges and disappointments. Like you have to be willing to fail. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to lose customers. You're going to make customers upset. And so you have to be just willing to go overcome those types of obstacles. I see a hand raised, iPhone 13 Pro Max. Not sure your real name there. Do you want to come off mute? Do you have a question?
Oh, no, my bad. I hit the wrong button.
Oh, you're good. No worries. No worries.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You're
I'm
good.
trying to figure this thing out.
No worries.
That's okay. You're just testing us. That's cool.
Yeah. Hey, no, thank you guys for having me, though.
Awesome.
Thank you for being here. Otherwise, it would just be, you know, Marco, Alex, and I in the alley just sitting around playing cards.
Thank you, guys. Sorry.
Pleasure.
You're teaching us a lesson of how to overcome challenges and roadblocks when you're going through stuff. So no worries. Financial self-control is another big one, right? So when you are the owner of a company, there's a lot of money coming in and a lot of money that's going out, right? You have to be able to manage your cash flow really well. It's almost like an elevated or like a more advanced version of trying to manage your own personal budget. So for those of you like who may have had a harder time like managing your own personal budget, when you're owning your own company, it's going to probably be like 10 times as hard, right? Because the numbers get bigger. There's a lot more decisions, a lot more stuff coming in and out. So the good thing is you can hire an accountant, you can hire people to help you do those types of things, but you still have to have the self-control of like, hey, when you go get your first customer who paid you $1,000 for a paint job, you can't just go spend that money and go buy a new iPhone, right? And so you have to be willing to kind of have that control to know what you're going after and have a longer term mindset. Got to be willing to learn. There's a ton of great books that are out there. I think Ali shared some of those books in the chat a little bit earlier. Gotta be willing to take criticism. A lot of times you're gonna get criticism from your family and from friends who are around you, especially for the folks like coming out and just being judicially involved. You're gonna have people who are just haters, right? And they're gonna say, hey, you can't do that. Why do you think you can do that? Like, that's not for you. You're not smart enough. You gotta be willing to kind of like just blow those people off and say, hey, forget you. I'm committed. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go grow my own business and not listen to folks who tell you that you can't do that kind of stuff. Got to communicate well, whether it's like customers or employees you have. You got to be creative. There's tons of like, you're always going to run into problems when you own your own company. There's going to be different things that come up. You got to find creative ways to like not only help customers, but also just to run your business. And you got to be able to multitask. I think that's one of the biggest things I think people aren't fully in tune with before they start their business is you got to be the person who's doing marketing. You got to do sales. You actually have to do the operations. Sometimes you got to run the finances. You kind of have to do multiple jobs, multiple roles as the owner of a company, especially if you're not hiring folks. So that's just something good to kind of keep in mind there. But Josh, Alex, any other thoughts on traits here? I know we covered a lot.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and kind of add my 2 cents from the research perspective. So looking through a large list of traits and everything can feel like, okay, I gotta be this amazing person. And I like starting a business is scary and daunting enough. So I want to address a subset of us that are the non-passionate people. So some literature that I came across when I was looking through entrepreneurship was on this topic of forced entrepreneurs. There are people who are forced into entrepreneurship. Maybe they are refugees. Maybe they are leaving high school during a terrible job market. Maybe they have felony conviction and can't get hired. But these are people who are, for one reason or another, more capable of starting a company than they are of getting a job. And for these people, a passion for entrepreneurship is not necessarily what they have. They have a passion for making it, for having a good life. And this is how they're going to do it. So if you are one of those people, and you read the first thing on the list there that you should have passion, and you're thinking maybe this isn't for me, I have some great news for you. Research, a study of 650,000 people found that those people who started a company because they were forced to do so, as opposed to those who were voluntary entrepreneurs, did just as well as the voluntary entrepreneurs, sometimes better. But the rates were really just about the same. There are some advantages to being a little bit dispassionate. You're actually a little bit more adaptive because you aren't necessarily married to the idea of what you're going to do and what you're going to sell. If you're somebody who starts a cupcake company and cupcakes go out of fashion and aren't popular anymore because the world is a terrible place, who wouldn't want cupcakes? Anyway, terrible example, but you get what I'm saying. So, and you don't want to pivot to cookies, which honestly, why would you not want to? Anyway, again, terrible examples, but you have to be able to pivot. Being too married can actually be a problem. And those people who are not psycho-passionate about what they are selling, but are just passionate about having this business or running it very well or leading their people, or they find some sort of passion within the business, those people are much more capable of pivoting and adapting. So there's big advantages. In fact, forced entrepreneurs are usually considered much more creative. In terms of this big long list, one of the trainings that I regularly bring up is something called personal initiative training. I'll put the link to it in the chat here. Personal initiative training is something that was developed specifically with forced entrepreneurs. And it was basically a training that was all about the mindset that was necessary to be successful in business. There are 3 things: being a self-starter, moving forward, doing things without being told; future thinking, just always looking for opportunities or possible problems; and overcoming barriers, just the thought that barriers are going to happen and I'm just going to overcome, work my way around or through, or use the barrier to my advantage. Those 3 things were so incredibly successful in comparison to people with no training or who had business school training, that people with that great personal initiative mindset did better every single month for 2.5 years on their profits than the other comparison groups. So it really is mindset. You don't need to be a graduate of business school. You don't need to be the most passionate person about the product that you're selling. You need to have the right mindset. So that first one, I would say, yes, it would be wonderful if you have passion, but it's really the rest of the list that you got to have. Josh, Marco?
Well said.
You want to add?
Love the data. Thanks for sharing.
Sure. Yeah. All right, Allie, why don't we move to the next one? Okay, so reasons to start a business. In terms of the reasons to start a business, there are many, of course. No limit to your income, meaning that basically when the business is doing very, very well, you can be doing very, very well. You can just keep growing. You can also decide that you don't want a incredibly large business and you want to cap it and that you're doing pretty well where you are. It's your decision. Become a better provider for your family, being able to have that solid income and well, I would say, and not have a boss, but let's face it, every single one of your clients is going to be your boss. You're not trading in not having a boss. You're going to have lots of bosses. So building your wealth, like I said, no limit to your income, being in control of your destiny, passionate about the work. Any of these that you see on the list, or maybe your reason why is not on the list, I highly recommend that you post it someplace that you are going to see on a regular basis. Get a dry erase marker and write it on your mirror, because that is the thing when you hit those inevitable barriers, those inevitable problems, which we will go over next. It's going to be the thing that keeps you going. Overcoming barriers is like one of those core things in personal initiative training that they don't tell you like, this is what you do to avoid problems. They tell you, you have to overcome them because you cannot avoid them. So have your why posted somewhere so that it gives you basically caffeine for your soul to keep you going. Josh, Marco, anything you want to add?
I would second that. Yeah, what Alex said is great. Like, write down the why, because 6 months from now, when you do start your business and something blows up and it goes really bad and you have a really hard day with 10 customers, you're going to want to go back and be like, hey, why am I doing this again? Like, what's the point of this? Oh yeah, I'm doing it for my family, or hey, I'm doing it for my kids to give them a better chance than I had. Right. So I would just really encourage you guys to write that down. It takes 10 seconds, put it in your phone or write it on a sticky note or something.
I actually got an app once that had like this random reminder, I think is what it was called. And I just basically put something in there that like every single day would remind me that basically to inspire me to get my dissertation done so I can get the hell out of grad school. But yeah, that thing that just like pops up and it's like, oh yeah, like I'm going to kick ass today. This is going to happen. Like, have that thing that keeps you going. All right, Allie, can you move to the next one? And Josh, you want to take it?
Sure. So why we don't do as well as we'd like? Okay, why we fell. It's hard. Like, okay, you've got
Well said.
You've got 52 customers saying that you suck ass, and there's one of you, and there's like, it's a little overwhelming. Sometimes, I mean, you can have some really, really high highs and some moments that you just want to crawl under a rock and just say, can you please go away? So yeah, it's hard. So feeling overwhelmed about how the F do I do this? All that. Yes, money problems. If you don't have enough cash, then you're kind of, yeah, cash flow is an issue. We're going to talk about that again and again and again and again about living well within your means so that you can drive this business where you need it to go. Wrong product, wrong place. You know what? If I'm trying to sell snow in Alaska in December, probably not a great idea. If I'm trying to sell snow removal here in Southern California, probably not a great idea. And yeah, there's something to be said about being a visionary, about trying to find something that is unique to the market. And some of the folks in this class from time to time will have an idea that's so unique that they're like, hey, I can't even talk about it in this class because it's proprietary or whatever. Sometimes my general guidance is be like Microsoft in a sense. And that doesn't mean necessarily having a crappy product that you push on everybody. What I mean by be like Microsoft is Microsoft, for the most part, didn't have too many original ideas. They didn't come up with the idea of a graphical Windows environment. They didn't come up with the idea of a word processing software program or a web browser. They come up with none of that, but they did execute flawlessly on their marketing. So they were usually the second person to a space and they just killed it. I'm probably the only person, maybe Marco knows what Lotus 123 is. I am probably the only person on this call who's old enough to remember VisiCalc. Alex is like, oh yeah, you are old. That would be the predecessor to Lotus 123.
Was it designed by dinosaurs?
Yes.
Did you pick it up at the store while you were on your dinosaur? Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off topic. Keep going.
Actually, it was right after the abacus. So there's an element of time and place, and sometimes being a fast follower is a good place to be. And you want to look around saying, well, what else is here? Don't worry so much about, you've killed Dwight there, Alex. Don't be so worried about, oh my gosh, no one's doing this. Who cares? I used to be a CPA, and someone would be like, well, why should I use you? I'm like, well, there are 370,000 other CPAs in the country. Fair point. But you and I are having this conversation today. And so why not me? So it's like, don't worry so much about doing something that is so unique. You can spend a lot of time not worrying about building a business when you're so worried about, well, I don't have my own spin. Well, some businesses don't need it. Just be good at it. Answer the phone. show up when we're asking you to show up. Be professional. When you start executing and executing flawlessly, you make more money than the next person who isn't as dedicated, isn't as persistent. So it's doing it better in that regard, not from the standpoint of like oh, we give better customer service. Well, what does that even mean? So it's really a matter of getting the job done, being consistent every time. But yeah, I would look at things that like where the market is in decline. Politics aside, yeah, gasoline powered cars are probably in decline over some period of time, and electric vehicles will be a thing. Incandescent light bulbs, today they are effectively banned given most circumstances. So if you were in the incandescent bulb business, you better be in LEDs because the incandescent bulb business is pretty much gone. So you want to kind of be careful about such sort of things. Yeah, be careful about where you go on this sort of stuff. And that also said, niche businesses can make money because sometimes when you do something that's a little bit industry specific. So earlier, I think Divine Financial Services, we do tax and credit repair. That's a niche business to start working with people that have credit repair needs. So, well, we're going to take care of your taxes. We'll get you current with your taxes and we're going to handle your credit. So it's like, that can be a little bit of a niche that you're working through. Being a niche of, hey, you know what, I'm going to do a taco food truck and it's going to be, a taco food truck around these parts in this country. Yeah, you and everybody else has a taco truck here. But if I had a taco truck in Fargo, that's probably a little different. There may not be a market for tacos in Fargo, but my goodness, I can't go 2 blocks without tripping over a taco truck around these parts. Additions.
I'll add something.
Ultimately, number one reason why businesses are going to fail are going to be capital, and you just have to keep your head on straight. Marco, Alex?
Yeah, the one thing I'll add, kind of similar to what Josh is talking about, like with having a niche business or not, a lot of times we hear folks come into through this course and they'll pitch, okay, hey, I'm selling this, cleaning service and it's for everybody, right? And so I think we talk a lot about focus and making sure you have focus in your business. I think if you try to have everybody as one of your customers, like you're not going to do so well. There's a lot to be said about the companies that are focused and say, hey, we just do construction cleanup, or hey, we just do like residential cleaning. And yes, you can be a residential cleaner and still do commercial cleanings, right? But like there's a lot to be said, I think, when you start to have that focus of like, hey, I know who my customer is, I know where I'm going to put flyers, I know what my website or business cards are going to say. It will help you just to get started at least. Obviously, take business wherever you can, but there's a lot to be said about having focus versus if you try to please everybody, usually you're not going to please anybody at all. And that's a big reason I think why companies can fail.
One thing I want to hit on is that very top one, like morale, feeling overwhelmed, that sort of thing. Just to warn anybody who doesn't yet already have a business, and probably those who already have a business will understand what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, a lot of times not necessarily haters, but the people who will want to dissuade you will be your loved ones. It is not because they don't think that you can succeed. Very often it is due to the fact that they are scared that you can fail and they don't want you to get hurt or something. Or maybe it's that they regret that they didn't try something more risky and therefore they kind of need you to stop so they don't feel bad about themselves, or whatever psychological thing they have going on. From the psych here, I can assure you that unless that person that you're talking to is an experienced and successful entrepreneur, business owner, they're probably not the person that you should be taking advice from. I recommend that you find somebody in your life who's somewhere between a 14-year-old constantly criticizing you and a motivational speaker, somebody who is fairly positive, but will be honest with you. And ideally somebody who understands the difficulties of having a business. Ideally, you have a few of those folks. because yeah, the ones who will make you doubt at a time that you are already feeling kind of down, you're going to need somebody to call. And this network is a great place to find those people, those ones who are already struggling as well, or who are going to be struggling the same time you are, but to keep each other going and to understand when, you know, your significant other is saying, I don't know if you should do this, that what they're actually saying is, I love you and I'm scared.
Yeah, family is tricky like that. Yeah, especially if you add an element of previous incarceration to it all, that family dynamic can be a little bit challenging. But overall, there's a level of discernment about who you listen to and why you're listening to them. And at some point during the course, we'll talk about having your own advisors and your own people to whom to listen, to make sure that you are, it's not that you need to only hear advice from successful business owners per se, but your family can have an ulterior motive to try and push you into one way or another. And not to say that mom and dad or siblings or whomever are not acting in your best interest, but it's murky. Yeah. And Mark, I'm going to challenge you on that. I worked for a company, it was my second job after college. And when the CEO, and this was a very large company, publicly traded, all that, and the CEO's interview line was, well, what makes you so qualified to do this job? And the CEO, who had just crashed and burned in a business just before, she's like, well, I learn a lot more from my failures than I do from successes. So talking to people that aren't doing as well, I don't know that I make that blind statement. You just want to think through, hey, this person's telling me this, how do I feel about it? Does it make sense? Is it resonating with me? Cool. I don't care if the person's homeless and on their last dime, or if that person's ridiculously successful. I've met smart people at both ends of those spectrums. And I've learned from people on both ends of those spectrums. So don't be so quick to dismiss people just because they're down in their luck. Do we go over licensing and permits that have to be obtained for certain businesses? Austin, the specifics, why don't you put in the chat box as far as what you're looking to do and where you're looking to do it, and I can just take that on from you. As far as don't take criticism, to me, it's just like, again, my line when people are criticizing me, I take a breath and I said, am I believing the bullshit that they're selling or not? Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. Okay, next slide. I forget, where do we leave off here? Why businesses fail? Is this me?
Yeah, I'll jump in a little bit.
Cool.
So continue just on what Josh is talking about, like why companies fail. These are just for you guys to know, these are just warnings, right? So just kind of like, you can look ahead as an owner of a business, like you need to be looking ahead. So a big reason is bad employees. If you get to the point where you start hiring people, we'll talk more about hiring in one of the later weeks in this course. The thing we'll talk about later though is like, you should hire people slowly and fire them quickly. So if you do hire somebody who's bad or not a good fit, doesn't represent the business well, you need to get rid of them. And we'll talk about that more a little bit later, but just a fair warning, like be super, super careful whenever you hire somebody, not only for you, but also like when you hire somebody, like you're responsible for putting food on their table, for paying them and stuff. So just be careful of that when you're hiring folks. A bad partner, for those of you who are thinking about starting something now with somebody, and you might be thinking about doing it with a friend or a family member or something, just big warning ahead. A bad partner is like a big reason why a lot of companies can fail, just because you can argue or there can be huge disagreements that you think the company should do this, they think the company should do that. And so just be super careful of that. I think there's different opinions from different instructors of like, hey, should you have a partner? Should you not have a partner? There's, I think, a strong reason to not have a partner in a lot of ways. But there's also some reasons to have a partner. If it's a partner who like, you do work well together because you complement each other's strengths and you know the line, you know the difference of, hey, this is what I'm great at, this is what you're great at, then maybe it can work well. But if you're just bringing on a partner for some reason, for no good reason, like usually not a great sign to bring somebody on. So just be super careful before you bring somebody else to start something with you. Work-life balance is hard, right? I mean, I think at the end of the day, like the more you want your business to be successful, the more time you're going to have to probably put into it. And so that's just there's a balance and there's a trade-off that you're going to have to play now with other aspects of your life, whether that's family time or whether that's other things. But on the flip side, right, like owning your own business does give you a little bit of freedom to do different things, but just be careful of it because you can spend too much time building your business, or you can spend too little time if you're spending too much time with family. So just be super careful with how you balance your work-life schedule a little bit. Competitor with better products, I actually kind of disagree with this bullet point. I don't actually think that's a good reason why a company should fail. If you look in Phoenix, there's thousands probably of landscaping companies, and they all like do well, and like, and it's not a matter of them having a better product necessarily. Like just because somebody's selling better lemonade like doesn't mean that you can't be successful. In some cases, yes, like there's a better product maybe, but in a lot of times I would just encourage you guys, like, don't be scared if there's other people doing what you're doing in town. That really shouldn't matter, because hopefully the market's big enough to where you can each win business that way. So lack of desire, obviously, kind of like what Alex was talking about earlier. If you forget your why, if you forget why you started this in the first place, that's a big reason why people just kind of get tired of it and they say, oh, I'm kind of good. This is just too challenging. I don't want to do this anymore. Family and health is big too, right? Like a lot of people can spend too much, coming back to the work-life balance thing, you can spend too much time building your business and just forget to take care of yourself. And that's one of the hardest things, honestly, because let's say you wake up on a Tuesday morning and you had a bunch of emails or missed calls from the night before with a bunch of like angry customers. Yeah, it's tempting to like not go for a run or work out in the morning or something. And then you can easily just let your health decline when you're running your own business. You can stay up super late trying to work and fix things. So just be super careful, like make sure you keep some type of balance in your life where the things that like make you better as a person, that make you healthy, that you're still doing those things, even when it gets really busy running a business. Lack of serving customers. We always talk about like the customer comes first. So just making sure that like if you're treating your customers poorly, they're obviously not going to come back to you again, and that's a great way to fail, just because you'll lose business and get some bad reviews, and then it's a down spiral after that. So a couple more warnings. Josh, Alex, thoughts?
No, I like it.
I would just basically say that, as Marco said at the very beginning of this list, understanding that this is not necessarily to dissuade you, but it is to say that, like, these things do happen. If there's anything that you can kind of avert from the beginning, do your best to take care of it before or at the very earliest stage in your company. But also understand that there's no shame in being at the start of your first business. It's okay sometimes to fail, because then, as Josh has pointed out, and as Marco is a living example of, that just means you start the second one. It's okay. Josh, did you want to say something? All right, I'll go ahead and jump on this one. Okay, so in terms of picking a name for your business, so your name ideally reflects what you do. It's quite helpful when you have a name of a company that says exactly what you do, but sometimes that can be really, really difficult. We live in a world where like every URL is taken, and it is important that you have a good URL for your company. Everybody needs to be able to find you online. So picking a name can be difficult. Some things to consider is that it is not somebody else's name, that it's original. Again, you want to do your Google search. Probably also checking the Department of Commerce for your state to see if there are any already established businesses. You do not want to spend 6 months, a year establishing your business only to find out that 2 counties over, there's another business with that name and they established business in your county first. And now you have to change your name that now people are getting to know. So do your best to search around and find some other companies or find if any other companies are using that name. Make sure that it is, well, that it doesn't have any negative associations. Don't name your company the Redskins or something terrible like that. And also make sure that it is fairly well associated with what you're going to do. You don't want a tech seeming name for your granola company. Make sure that it seems like what it is that you're selling, that it's appropriate for the business. One other thing I'll note is that in my experience, my company, we did a lot of naming. That was one of the services that we sold, where we would name companies. Being like too specific, being very specific will tell people what you do, but it also can pigeonhole you into something. So Anne Marie's Cupcakes makes it so that people will only go there for cupcakes. And if she wants to sell anything else, that's just not what people are going to go there for. That's just not what they're thinking of when it's called Anne Marie's Cupcakes. But if it's Anne Marie's Bake Shop, well, then she can do sweet, she can do savory, she can do only cupcakes, she can do cupcakes and other stuff. It's a bakery, like it can be a lot of different things. Anne Marie's Sweet Bake Shop will be just sweets, that sort of thing. So the more you can go for naming yourself according to like an industry umbrella rather than a specific product or a specific service, that will allow you some flexibility in your company. And if you have named yourself too narrowly, you will likely have to rename your company when you want to go broader or start a secondary company. So, Marco, Josh?
That's good. The one thing I'll add that I would recommend everybody just do when you do have a business name that you're ready to like, okay, I think I'm going to name my business this. Like Alex was kind of saying, like, yeah, your URL is important, right? So like go and make sure like a URL is available somewhat similar to your business name, but go on like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, like wherever you think you're going to kind of start to advertise your business, and just see if there's like Instagram handles or Facebook handles that are available based off that business name. The worst case, right? Like, let's say you're in California and somebody in New York has already started a very similar granola business with the same name. You can just put like California in front of it, or, New York, or whatever your state or your city is too, right? So, but I recommend just doing that. It makes it a little bit easier versus running into the problem of like, you incorporate your business, you figure out your legal name, and then all of a sudden it's like hard to get somebody to reach out to you on Instagram because like they can't find you. So just making sure like that the name is like available in different places is always helpful. Google, just go on Google too. Also go on like Google Maps and just even see if there's any like similar sounding businesses nearby to you, because that can be super helpful. When you create a Google My Business page, you'll want to make sure if somebody types in granola bars or something, right, that it's pretty easy to find you on there as well. Josh?
Two thoughts that I want to address from the chat window here. After you check the name, how you secure it, you can do it by forming a legal entity. You can also file a fictitious business name with your county, and then you can register the URL with GoDaddy or whatever website that you want. As far as licenses and permits, we'll touch upon that briefly, but if you have a food service business, you've got a whole lot of permit stuff that you're going to have to kind of go through. And it's really going to be county specific. But in general, when you think about permits and licenses, go to City Hall. At City Hall, there will be a bureaucrat who's sitting there eager to answer that question as far as what do you need? And given that most of us have been judicially involved here, let's start our business on the right foot and know exactly what the laws are and become well-versed in them. So like when it's a food permit thing, you're gonna need the County Board of Health. You'll need a safe place to keep your food cart overnight. You'll need sales tax permits. There's just a bunch of different stuff that you're going to have to kind of go through. And then just as a reminder, we teach this course from the standpoint of that we're not leading to any type of grant funding or anything like that. And it's certainly not, we're not going to talk about state specific or local issues as far as funding. We're teaching this course from a perspective of if you've got a couple of $100 that you can scrunch together, you can have a business. Lawrence Carpenter, who's our board chairman, started his cleaning supplies business with $250, and now he's well into 8 figures and operating in 4 states and has 3 different lines of business. Yes, having cash is helpful. Having lots of cash can help you farther along the line, and having cash can just amplify the mistakes that you make. So for example, a year and a half ago, a gal comes into this course and she's like, hey, can I get some grant funding? And we got into talking about it, and she's like, well, I need to buy new inventory. I said, well, what happened to your other inventory? She's like, well, I bought the wrong stuff. So some of the things that we want to really be keen on is make your mistakes while you're small. It gets really painful when you have big dollars and you make a mistake then. So if you make a mistake now and you lose $20 on a sale, not great, but not so terrible. The other thing to think about when you're picking a name, just to kind of jump back to that, is consider names that might have different meanings in foreign languages. So Chevy had this product some back in the day called the Chevy Nova. It was a car. And for any of you who speak Spanish, what does Nova mean? Yeah, the car doesn't move. Good job, Chevy. Yes, I understand Nova, the star, new, all that. But yeah, you call a car Nova, which in Spanish means doesn't go. Not exactly smart. So when we talk about potential associations, there's all kinds of ways to go about that, as well as have something that's relevant. Don't just pick a brand name because you like something. Have it because it's relevant to what you're doing, or there's a tie into it. Like, I don't know. This also goes into the branding pieces to it. Like, just don't pick branding because you like the picture. Pick it because it is representative of the name and it ties into what your values of the business are. So stuff like that. Just going through the chat window here. As far as businesses with other businesses and subsidiaries, Isaiah, please hit me up privately. I'll send you my email right now. We can certainly appreciate that. As far as, again, for grants and funding and things like that, we're really not here to talk and connect about grants. I mean, the challenge here, let's call it a spade what a spade is. Many grants are off rights to us because of a criminal conviction. SBA loans are just recently kind of coming around a little bit more to being a little bit more forgiving, but usually after coming home, credit is not great. Many loans outwardly just discriminate and saying, if you've got a felony conviction, we're not helping you. And many of the grant sources have a similar provision. If you have a felony conviction, we're not helping you. So some actually do specifically call out for second chances and try and go there. But again, you can spend a lot of time and effort trying to get grant funding, or you could put the $300 that you have and start making money today. I don't know about you. I'd rather take the initiative on my own and start making it rain for myself today than rather, because even if you get a grant, and let's just say it's a $2,500 grant, $2,500, a lot of money, cool, it's a great way to start. But even if I have $2,500, that's not sustainable. What we're trying to teach you is how do you fish? How do you provide yourself a way to provide for you and your family on a go-forward basis? And getting grant funding and borrowed money, oh, well, that's great that you can get cash in the door, but how do you service the debt? You need revenue. So now you just borrowed $10,000. That's great. You now have $10,000, but they're going to want the money back. Even if you get the loan, they're going to want the money back. So if you start small, make your mistakes while you're small, and then you kind of grow into the debt, and then you grow into the grants as they become appropriate for you. All that. We are at 25. The homework for next week is work on your elevator pitch. Work through what does your business do, who is the customer, what are the goals of your business, get some clarity around that sort of stuff. As we go through Allie, can you start wrapping things so I can I know there's 7 messages in the bar here.
Yeah, no worries. First of all, thank you so much to Alex and Marco and Josh. We could not do this without you, your expertise, and for volunteering your time with us. We so appreciate it. For everyone in the class, I've also gotten a couple of DMs, so I'm going to just try and address most of them really quickly so we're all on the same page again. This is being recorded. I'm going to send a recap email out tomorrow. Basically, as soon as it gets uploaded to YouTube, I will send it out. So by midday tomorrow at the latest, you will have this recording, the PowerPoint slides. I grabbed the link that Alex shared earlier. I'll throw that in there. So be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, also the homework is not, please don't turn it in. It is for your benefit, and we absolutely would encourage you to do it, but please do not email me your homework. Otherwise, we will meet next Tuesday, August the 8th, same time, 6 p.m. Central Time. I know a couple of people logged in later, or 6 p.m. Eastern Time, goodness. If you were late to class, no worries at all. I will have everyone's attendance recorded. And for future reference, I know a few people messaged me, they were having hearing issues and their computers were freezing. Moving forward, if you experience any technical difficulties during class, if you just exit this link and then come back in, I monitor the waiting room throughout class. I will make sure that you are let back in, so there are no worries there. I'm trying to see if there's any other messages that are pertinent to everyone.
Yeah, there is one. There is one in there, Allie. And at least just to clarify, Inmates to Entrepreneurs as an entity, we don't worry about financing and finding grants. And one of the reasons is because it's hard due to usually credit impairment and the rules around them. We're teaching business skills about how to start your business. Can you get grant money? Yes. Can you get a loan? Yes. Is it easy? Not really. And we don't go there just as a class. We're teaching you ultimately basic business skills about how you kind of get started. In week 4, we will talk a little bit about funding, but for the most part, even in week 4, we will tell you, be organic and grow it up from the ground up. Why? Because it's more sustainable. Again, it's not to say it's impossible. It can be done. I have received grants for my business. Over the years, I've received probably 50 grand in grant money. It can be done. It's just not easy. And it's just not a focus of our class, and it's by design not to go there. Because again, you have, well, it works in California, but not in Ohio, or it's a city grant in Los Angeles, but not available anywhere else. Like all these nuances don't make it broadly appealing. And there's only 8 weeks, which will go by really fast, which is really only 7 weeks of content, which is really only 6 weeks of new content. So I've got basically 9 hours to teach you everything you need to know to start a business. And we can't get state specific as far as the different programs available by state. Does that make sense?
And just to piggyback off Josh, for anyone still curious about grants and funding and things like that, you're going to have much better luck on a localized kind of search. So that would be your Secretary of State, your Chamber of Commerce, your local small business centers. They would have that information. Unfortunately, it's not grants for the population that we are largely in, just don't really exist on a national level, unfortunately. Otherwise, I know it is right at 7:30. I know I see a bunch of people having to leave. So we will see you a week from tonight. So it'll be Tuesday, August 8th, same Zoom link, same time. If you have any questions before then, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you all. We'll see you next week. Thank you again, instructors.
Thanks. Bye-bye.